Then you quoted verse Exodus 24,
Yeah.
which I'll read because it's short. It's God's commandment when God said to the Israelites, "You shall not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth." And then you were talking shortly about what could be the earth beneath. Is that just just when you're giving example of the Russian scientists and also American scientists, Western scientists, when they were digging in the hole for different purposes, like are we talking about just a mere soil and then lava or magma underneath, or it could be something more and then the water under the earth? And as we know, the scientists have discovered years ago that there is a vast ocean underneath the Earth's core that is supposedly as big, if not bigger, than all the oceans on the planet. So I don't know if there's anything that you want to say when it comes to this topic and Exodus 24.
Well, for me, it really, uh, I think it's really interesting that Yahweh would mention that. Basically, he saw that men or the Israelites could be tempted to worship or to make a graven image of what would be found underneath the earth, which brings us back to the accounts. So, in the accounts, Admiral Byrd and Olaf Jansen both meet with super advanced civilization. And Olaf Jansen, they're giants. So not only are they super smart and super advanced, but they're super strong probably as well. So it would be very easy for uh, tiny little 6 foot men to worship or to be tempted to worship or to consider as gods or potential gods creatures that are 16 feet tall, which is the how tall he said they could be, those giants. I think it was between the females were 12 feet, or the females were 12 and the males, the tallest ones were 16, something like that. So that's fascinating to me, that Yahweh made provision for potentiality of man worshiping what's under the earth. And another thing that, what sucks about writing books, Nicola, is you write the book, you publish it, you get it out there, you're super excited, and 6 months down the road, a year down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, you look back, you're like, I wish I would have put that in the book. I wish I would have said it this way instead, or whatever, because we keep learning, we keep evolving, we keep changing. And the thing that struck me also is a famous verse for those who study Nephilim, Genesis 6:4. We're familiar with it. I've been familiar with it for 20 years, that verse. I've been studying the Nephilim and I've been very interested in all that. Read the book of Enoch and everything, but it struck me maybe last month or something. Genesis 6:4 in the KJV. In the KJV, not the other versions, but in the KJV, it says there were giants in the earth in those days. It doesn't say on the earth. So I thought that was fascinating right there. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. It says in the earth. Is that a typo? Is that Old English? Because the other versions don't really phrase it that way. But then it says, and also after that. So could it be the possibility that because some of these giants were in the earth, that when the flood happened, maybe they were spared? Some of them might have been spared, or part of them might have been spared, or maybe they were all evil, because we saw that, we know that from the book, from Genesis, obviously, from the account of Noah and from Enoch, that God wiped out these creatures because they were vile. They were mean, they were evil. So, and they were genetic aberrations. But is it possible that some of them weren't? And what would they survive? Would they be and also after that, we know there's Goliath, and later on, right, there's other giants that are found later on. So I always thought that was it. Okay, so and also after that, it was talking about these guys afterwards, Goliath and his brothers and the lion men of Moab and all that stuff. But I never thought that maybe there were giants in the earth that also after that would be there still. And it's interesting also how, as the verse ends, it says the same, talking about these giants in the earth, became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. Again, if you're familiar with that verse, you probably read it 100 times, but it kind of struck me differently. I was like, okay, well, the way the verse ends doesn't necessarily seem to mean that, like, I mean, heroes, mighty man, and some version says heroes of old, men of renown. Okay, maybe they were still evil and people admired them, or maybe could it be that some of them were not all that bad and somehow were preserved? Again, conjecture. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
Hey, while you were talking, I was Googling for other Bible translations that could say that the Nephilim were in the earth. So besides KJV, I found a few more translations. American Standard Version also says in the earth. Aramaic Bible in plain English also says in the earth.
Interesting.
And also English Revised Version. So there are like at least 3 more versions that say they're not very popular. They're not, very well spread, but I found, like, besides KJV, not New King James, but the old King James, that a few more versions mention, in the earth. I would just have to say, since I don't read KJV, that this is new to me. I didn't hear about this passage in that translation. I don't know if it's just a form of speech, how you say in the land, like
Yeah.
in the land of Canada, because you're Canadian. In the land of Canada, there was a famine, or there was a tsunami coming. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that would
Could be.
mean necessarily that is inside the soil, inside of the earth, or just the way of you
Of saying
explaining things.
abroad,
Yeah.
like spread
Yes.
abroad. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
So
that would be my first interpretation, but I thought it struck me differently after I reread it, and I was like, wait a minute, could this be? Could it mean maybe?
yeah.
You know?